We spend most of our waking hours sitting down. Over time, that posture shortens the hip flexors, weakens the gluteal muscles, and creates an environment where the body readily stores energy as white adipose tissue, what we commonly call fat. When people notice that accumulation, especially around the midsection, the usual reflex is to try and target it directly. We do hundreds of crunches, hoping to burn the fat right off the stomach. This visualization plots the results of clinical studies testing that exact idea. It compares the thickness of subcutaneous fat over a muscle trained for 5 weeks against a muscle that did nothing at all. As you can see, the localized fat layer over the working muscle does not drop in any statistically significant way. Working a specific muscle simply does not burn the fat cells sitting directly on top of it. To actually force the body to mobilize those fat stores, you need to create a systemic metabolic alarm. You have to recruit the largest muscle groups in the human body, all at exactly the same time, through a heavy functional movement. Losing localized body fat requires a full system metabolic response, and the most effective anatomical trigger for that response is the squat. At its core, the biomechanics of a squat rely on the simultaneous flexion of the hip and knee joints during the descent. As the body lowers, primary agonist muscles take the load. The quadriceps femoris work in tandem with the gluteus maximus and hamstrings. To prevent collapsing, the nervous system recruits a massive stabilizing network, locking in the external obliques, abdominals, and erector spinae. Compare this to an open kinetic chain exercise, like a seated leg extension. Sitting at a machine to work your quads isolates a single area, leaving the rest of the body resting. By forcing nearly the entire muscular system to fire in unison to move your body weight through space, the squat operates as a massive neuromuscular event. Activating that much muscle mass simultaneously sends an immediate stress signal to the endocrine system. The body responds by releasing anabolic hormones like testosterone and somatotropin, growth hormone, to handle the intense load. This chart shows the calories burned per minute across different exercises, based on research from Reese and colleagues. You can see the energy demand for half squats, whether at 20% or 80% of a subject's max, towering over the minimal caloric burn of an isolated movement like a bicep curl. Squatting demands up to 35 calories a minute because of the sheer volume of muscle fibers requiring ATP for energy. That intense energy demand creates a severe oxygen deficit in the muscle tissues. To recover, the body enters a state known as excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, or EPOC. This graph maps out what happens next. The calorie burn doesn't stop when you rack the weight. Your resting metabolic rate stays elevated along this curve for hours afterward, as the body consumes excess oxygen to restore baseline levels and repair the muscle tissue. A heavy compound lift like the squat converts the body from a short-term calorie-burning state during the actual workout into a prolonged metabolic furnace that persists long after you've left the gym. Deep inside the adipose organ, fat tissue comes in 2 distinct types: white adipose tissue, designed to store lipids for survival, and brown adipose tissue, which is packed with mitochondria to burn energy and generate heat. The chronic metabolic demand of heavy squats, combined with factors released by working skeletal muscles, forces white fat cells to adapt to new physiological stress. The cells literally transdifferentiate. The white energy-storing adipocytes take on the characteristics of brown fat, acquiring new mitochondria in a phenomenon known as browning, equipping the body to meet massive new energy demands. This exercise-induced browning physically shrinks the critical death size of the adipocytes. When these fat cells shrink, it directly reduces the low-grade chronic inflammation typically driven by macrophages infiltrating visceral fat. Squats trigger a cellular overhaul, transforming the anatomy of fat tissue from passive storage into an active energy-burning network. When these acute biological responses are repeated over time, the long-term anatomical results are measurable. Researchers tracking young males through an 8-week daily squat training program recorded distinct shifts in body composition. Subjects demonstrated an average 7.15% reduction in total body fat percentage, alongside clear increases in total muscle mass and significant improvements in how their muscle tissue utilized insulin. To execute this safely every day without damaging the lumbar spine, strict biomechanical rules apply. The back must remain straight, supported by high intra-abdominal pressure, while torso angles adjust to your specific physical structure. To manage fatigue and prevent central nervous system burnout, vary your movement. This ensures your form never breaks down into a dangerous rounded back. Integrating this mechanical hinge into your routine aligns your anatomy with its evolutionary design. It fortifies bone density, calibrates your hormonal baseline, and builds a remarkably resilient human body.